Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 18 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss progress and best practices with customer experience programs in the federal government. With me on today's show are Beth Capello, Deputy Chief Information Officer, Department of Homeland Security, Gary Stevens, Deputy Chief Information Officer, Department of Education, Courtney Kai Decker, Deputy Chief Taxpayer Experience Officer at the IRS, Simka Savecki Bogan, Chief Customer Experience Officer at USDA, Karen Tuttle, Associate Director, Digital Experience Specialist, Verizon Business Group, Public Sector, and Charlotte Lee, Strategic Lead for Customer Experience and Innovation at Granicus. All right, we're talking executive or customer experience. I'm so glad that we're not talking about speeds and feeds and pliers and wires. OMB did a nice job of issuing an executive order to the White House and explaining the definition of that and the expectations, put a little TMF money behind it, which is always nice. And as we know, this is not just about technology. This is about the whole journey of the whole experience. Beth, we're going to start with you over at DHS. I have heard that you all have one of the largest sort of footprints as far as customer interaction across the various operational ecosystems. Why don't you give us a state of the state of where you are on this customer experience journey at DHS?
Well, good afternoon, Luke, and thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to talk about the great work, again, that's going on at the Department of Homeland Security. I think that right now, DHS, in terms of federal agencies, is likely leading the pack in customer experience. We are incredibly lucky to have Dana Chisnell with us. She is a subject matter expert in the area and is leading the charge in standing up the customer experience practice within the Department of Homeland Security. And as you know, this is a topic that's near and dear to the heart of our CIO, Eric Heisen. In DHS, as you mentioned, we have probably more opportunity, maybe other than the IRS, to interact with the public. We think that it's somewhere around 1 billion transactions in a given year, and that's everything from FEMA with natural disasters and grants for disaster assistance, to Customs and Border Protection with trade and travel facilitation, things like ensuring that cargo moves swiftly through our ports of entry, down to just general interactions for the immigration population. How do you receive benefits? How do you understand the process? So we have many, many opportunities to get this right. And I think that we are making substantial progress. And for many of you that travel internationally or domestically through the airlines, I think you're going to see some of this customer experience work up close and personal here in the not too distant future. So I'm excited to talk about the things that we've been doing and the things that we have planned for the future, Luke. Thank you.
Such a wide swath of responsibility areas and opportunities to really enhance that customer experience. Gary, certainly at the Department of Education, I think about students and parents and administrators and academics, et cetera, a large community there of folks that are interacting with the Department of Education. Give us the state of where you all are these days.
Absolutely. So we're real excited about a multitude of the efforts that we have underway here at the department, championed by our CIO, Luis Lopez. And we're looking at it really starting at the baseline, where we're both looking at the customers internal to Ed as well as the customers external to Ed. Customers internal to Ed would be the various principal operating components to ensure that they're able to successfully execute their mission, both tactically and strategically, looking at the various things that they're working on, ensuring that we are aligned in tandem with that, doing what we need to do to ensure that their mission is going to be successful. And then also looking at how we interface with the students, the teachers, everybody else who depends upon the Department of Education for services. So lots of efforts underway, such as ed.gov modernization, to ensure that individuals are able to, access the information they need, when they need it, in the manner in which they need it, Also, when we have policies or directives that are out in coordination, making sure that people have the capacity to provide comments and then be able to respond in a very cohesive and rapid fashion. So lots of various efforts underway at the department that we're real excited about.
Fantastic. Sounds super exciting, and I'm glad to hear about all the progress there. Courtney, I love your title here, and the IRS has really been on a customer experience journey for a long time. I think about everything from the electronic filing, that's probably 2-3 decades old, et cetera, but it's not all about technology, right? So tell us about sort of where you are programmatically in regards to the journey that the IRS is on.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Luke. And again, thanks for having us here. The taxpayer service, as you mentioned, has been an ongoing endeavor by the IRS for a very long time. And I think we've had in recent years an ability to really ramp up or amp up our focus on taxpayer experience through the Taxpayer First Act and the formation of our taxpayer experience office in 2021. And our office has just gotten staffed to a functional level here late in 2022. So we're really excited about the opportunities that are to come. But in terms of what we are focused on for our taxpayers, and I think maybe I quibble a little bit with Beth in terms of who gets to have more access to Americans and folks in this country. But thanks for the call out, Beth. We certainly want to make sure that we're thinking about every taxpayer, every interaction, every time, making sure that taxpayers have choice and access as to how they interact with us. As you mentioned, technology isn't everything. It's a lot, but it's not everything. So when someone calls on the phone, they need to have excellent service. When someone interacts with us, starting on the internet through either our website or our online accounts, they need to be able to transition easily through the various channels that we have. So that choice and access is really kind of a guiding principle for us as we think about the tools that we're endeavoring to offer in the future and the service that we really want to provide.
Absolutely. And that omni-channel type of situation, so important. And then stitch it together. If I'm talking on the phone and then I get kicked over to somebody else, I don't want to have to sort of repeat all that. I think you all have done a great job of that. And we'll talk about CX superiority at some point about who's the biggest and the baddest. Not that really matters. Gary, you actually raised a good point about defining customers, external customers, internal customers. And Simca, I wanted to one, just allow everyone to appreciate the size and scope of USDA is just massive, right? And you've got an entire internal community that's global and an external community that's massive. Tell us about how you all are doing on this journey.
No, thanks. Good afternoon, Luke. Thanks for the time. Yes, like you said, USDA is actually quoted as being the people's agency, just for that very reason. We have over 20 agencies, and the vast amount of variety of customers that we serve is pretty tremendous. Anywhere from schools, feeding children through school lunch programs, SNAP, WIC for new parents, meat inspection. You'll witness animal plant health inspection, when you're in the airports as well. We work with the marketplace, imports, exports, when it comes to varieties of food. We help the communities with housing, water, broadband, farm assistance for our farmers. So really it spans the gamut when it comes to services that USDA provides to the communities. And I think a year ago, USDA really, we made a huge step by putting our very first department-wide customer experience policy that really puts emphasis on how important it is to design for the people that we're serving. really focusing on the journey that they're taking, and putting that in the forefront of how we're designing. And like somebody said earlier, while technology plays a huge role, we want to make sure that we're listening to those needs up front and really designing before we build things for our communities or the services that we're providing. So yes, it's a tremendous amount of work, but it's really energizing. It's really fun. And everybody in the whole of USDA is really for the people when it comes to delivering those services.
Absolutely. You raise a good point there, really designing and thinking about it and meeting them where they are. Right. I think that's really important. Right. These vast individuals and entities are certainly in different places under different circumstances. Karen, let's talk about Verizon and how you all fit into that. People think about Verizon. I think about my wireless phone. I think about 5G. I think about wide area networks. Tell us about the digital experiences that Verizon brings to the table to help these agencies out and enhancing their customer experience.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. It's interesting. When we approach federal customers, we take a lot of learnings from our own customer experience. Verizon Wireless has over 100 million subscribers. That's a lot of people to need to service on a constant basis. And so we have really developed internally a customer-centric focused culture. And it's really based on 3 concepts: make it work, make it simple, and make it memorable. And that really involves employee experience as much as it does customer experience, because if the employees are not able to make their experience good, they can't properly service the customers. So it's kind of the focus on both sides from a tools, process, and culture. And so we bring a lot of those learnings when we're talking with our federal customers, because the business outcomes at the end of the day are very similar. It's volumes of people, it's getting the right information to the right people, allowing them to get their tasks accomplished, and all of those things. And so as we experiment and master different techniques for addressing customer experience, it's very effective to come and bring those learnings to our federal customers.
It's a very good point, and making it simple and making it a sort of an elegant experience. I recall one time we were developing a radio and we were so proud of it, and we get it out into the field and then forgot to realize that a lot of times these operators have gloves on, right? And as soon as they tried to use it, it was a terrible experience. So good catch there. Charlotte, tell us about how your organization fits into the ecosystem, what exactly it does, and then how you're helping these agencies on their journeys.
Hi, Luke. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to sit among luminaries and colleagues, and it's great to see all of you here. At Granicus, my role is to reflect and amplify our expertise, to tell our story on our less appreciated perspective on the government customer experience. Not many people have heard of Granicus, but we have an entire suite of citizen engagement tools. But perhaps you've heard of GovDelivery at the federal level. And GovDelivery was the first government email and communication platform to be FedRAMPed. And so many of you, if you open up your inbox, many of our listeners probably have some email communication or SMS from a GovDelivery partner or agency who uses it. In doing and being the first FedRAMP platform, we have now accrued about 300 million unique subscribers. People have opted in for communication from the government. We send 25 billion emails a year on behalf of government. And I think the impact to share is very clear. Government can have measurable success in program awareness and adoption by digging into who and how they're communicating. By not putting communication at the center of CX, I think we perpetuate problems with program awareness and adoption. So right now we're using our expertise in engagement and enrollment for supporting customer-facing programs, internal change management objectives, and even recruitment. I think our perspective is to share the customer journey doesn't start at login, it starts at awareness. And despite the best efforts of IT and CX leaders, government processes are difficult to navigate, but clear communication that provides instruction and guidance can establish trust or alleviate anxiety, which to me are what matters at the end of the day.
very important and very key aspect of trying to help enable this ecosystem. We're going to start with specific programs. I'm going to start with you, Coordinate IRS. I had an opportunity to listen to your presumably incoming commissioner there, and a lot of the questioning there during the testimony was all about just the straight up interaction with the IRS, with the filers, the businesses, the individuals, et cetera, et cetera. I know there's a lot of work going on, a lot of focus in this area, but give us an example of a specific program you'd like to highlight.
My favorite program to highlight at right now is our work in online account. This is a tool that is evolving every day. We're continually adding functionality to that online account so that people can see by logging in, and authenticating themselves, their own information that will ultimately help them file a more accurate return. And we know that, the more accurate your return is, if you're expecting a refund, the more quickly your return gets processed, or the fewer problems you have down the line. So I think, to Charlotte's point of communication, that account, getting the word out that account is a really valuable tool for taxpayers, even if it doesn't have everything that we want right now. We have lots of different functionality that's in the pipeline to be added. Right now you can see information. We put in information about the EIP when that was an issue. Child tax credit information is in there, and your payment information is in the account. So those tools ultimately will help our taxpayers be informed as to their own accounts in a way that they haven't been able to be informed before. Of course, Where's My Refund is one of the most popular tools that we have during tax season. Folks are constantly logging on to see, how long until I'm going to be getting that refund. And it's a very easy, seamless tool that requires minimal authentication. The account's going to require a little bit more authentication, which is, we have that little bit of friction, because you have to tell us who you are to get that information. Coming from a security perspective in my prior life, I try to think about how do we balance that need to know for sure who you are before you access that most personal information. And we've taken great strides in making authentication easier for taxpayers, but there is still, you still have to show who you are, and that's legitimate. I could go on and on about our tools that we've been implementing, but I don't want to take everybody else's time, so I'll stop there.
And we really do appreciate the iteration, right? You start with some basic functionality and capability, and perhaps the next time you log on, there's a little bit more capability, and that keeps evolving. And maybe we'll hear about some more of that as we go on in the show here. So we certainly do appreciate it. And I think everyone appreciates and respects the fact that there has to be some interrogation there to make sure it's actually you logging on. I think we all certainly appreciate that. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.